Mr. Ayoade. Thank you for joining the call. Thank you for joining the call. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. That's our farmer Sam right there. So I'll be handing over the mic to Miss Tosin. Over to you, ma. Can we just clap for her? Can we just give her a reaction? Thank you so much, ma. Oh my God, you look so beautiful, ma.
Thank
Oh, thank you. Over to you. Okay, I was ready.
you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
see, people knowing you.
yeah.
So
I
you are very popular. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for saying that. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, ma.
actually
Thank you.
favor and good evening, everyone. I trust that we are fine. We are good. I'm excited, to be here this evening. I'm excited to be here and talking about these two major fields, agriculture and data. They are things that I'm passionate about. Yeah, for people who know me, maybe I should just share a quick backstory. Uh, for agriculture, I studied agricultural administration, but before I gained admission, I have a mentor at the time. Before I picked, I think about when I was about to enter the uni, and he asked me one day we were working, and he asked that, okay, so what course do you want to go to university to study? I said agriculture administration, and he was wild. It was like, you are a smart person, you're young, why not, do computer science? Because tech is a big thing, and you know, the couple of years before you're out of university, you know, you have a well-paid job. That tech is the next big thing. Don't And I really appreciate that. But I have seen a gap in agriculture. At the time I've looked within, I see that I know that I can't till land, right? But that's why I'm going to administration, because there are things that needs to be done. I feel like there are things, there are problems to be solved in agriculture. So one of the drive. So I'm passionate. When I say I'm passionate about agriculture, I am. And on the other hand, for data, uh, I'm a data lover. I love data. Of course, from our host, when she introduced me, I work in a data setting company that's datafied. All right. So I love data. I'm passionate about agriculture and data. So I'm excited, to be here this evening. If you can still hear me, I would like to see your reaction if you are excited to be on this call. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, so we get into it. And thank you, Kerithub, for having me. I'm so honored to to do this. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this webinar? We're going to look at why data matters in agriculture. Why we all know that data is everywhere. Do we believe that data is everywhere? Yeah, data is everywhere. Whatever sector, you know, you can think of, you can data is everywhere. In healthcare, you know, think of any sector. As a business person, you know, you have data. As nothing, there's no field, yeah, that you cannot find data. So data is everywhere. um Today we'll be looking at why data matters in agriculture. Also, we're also going to see what data actually means on farm, and across the value chain, agricultural value chain. Also, um, we'll be looking at how decision is being made, with data, and we'll be also be looking at real use cases of data in agriculture. Then we'll look at barrier to adopting data in this space. And lastly, would see why Kerithub exists and where we are headed. All right. If you can still hear me, I love to see your reaction. Am I still audible? If at any point you cannot hear me, yeah, thank you so much, Mohammed. All right, so like I said earlier, data is everywhere, in every sector, in every industry, and agriculture is no exception. Like there are a massive number of opportunity in agriculture, in data itself. In healthcare, they are using data to do a lot of things, a lot of things. How that scientists or yeah, they use data, to improve whatever. If they diagnose a disease today, there are people who would take data, go into research, gather data, and then um analyze the data to make a better decision. So agriculture rather is no exception. There are massive opportunity in agriculture. And here we see 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land is in Africa. How do we know this? This is data. 70% of sub-Saharan Africans depends on agriculture for income. This is data. 30%, of harvested food is lost before reaching the market. Oh, is this same for every other person? I can see someone said they cannot hear me. Am I still audible? Okay, I guess that must be your network. You can join back. Okay, yeah, go ahead to speak. I see your hand was raised. Okay. All right, I get that. Okay, so we can also see going forward, yield improvement potential, it's true. All these things that I highlighted here, they are data. They are data. And the gap between data rich and data poor farming, we define who thrive in the next decade. Like I mentioned earlier. Hi, you're welcome. Can you hear me now? Mohammed, is it better now? Am I clear? Am I audible? I would like to get a reaction from you to be sure that we are on same page. All right, so yeah, I'm saying that the gap between rich and poor in farming would largely depend on data. In the next decades, we are moving towards um, another phase, in agriculture. In the advanced world, they have already moved. They are not doing things with guesswork. They use the data they have, they make sense of it and make informed decision. So let's get into it. The challenge that we have in this part, of the country. Okay, the challenge we have, one of the challenges, I highlighted, some points here. Why many decisions in agriculture are still guesswork, even with the fact that we are in data era. A lot of decisions as regard agriculture, they are still dependent on guesswork, which is not supposed to be. We have moved, we should have moved from era of doing the guesswork. And it doesn't just, it's not just in agriculture. Even as a business person, if you're here, you're a business person, you're a retailer, you shouldn't just do guesswork again. You should have a data, and be able to maybe not make sense of it. You can hire an analyst, or if you want to learn, yeah, I work in a data centric company. You can maybe send a DM after. So that's just by the way. So why many decisions in agriculture are still guesswork? One of the reasons, visibility. Farmers plant, without knowing what buyers we actually want at the harvest time. They do that based on guesswork. We are still, doing manual things. We do. based on guesswork. A farmer can just, with their intuition, I want to go into cucumber, and you didn't even, have access to data from the market. You don't know what the market, you know, what they want, what people are demanding. You just want to plant, based on your intuition. It shouldn't be, so. So that's one of the challenges we have in this part of the world. We are still making a lot of guesswork, especially on farms. Another thing we see is, another sorry, another thing we see is when, there's limited access to, equipment. Limited access to forecasting means, to see stop what's it called now, during the weather forecast, unpredictable weather risk. There are still farmers still, go into to farm, to start their planting without looking into uh, the season. They don't, they don't, although, traditionally there is a way they have been doing this, but it could be better. It should be better, and that is why this is important. And I'm glad that, we are here. At the end, I mean, the end goal of this meeting should be that each and every one of us on this call, we know that we have data all around us. Yeah, we shouldn't just, have them, scattered. You can take notes. If you are into business, take some things, pen them down, right? Another challenge we have is, inefficient logistics. When produce moves without, you don't, there's no storage optimization. That leads to spoilage and wastage. We have a percentage of, food that, it's not that we are not producing food in this country. As a case study now, we are producing, but a number, some percentage of this uh, produce, they have been wasted. They are, because farmers are not getting data. They are doing it based on guesswork. They plant without, consulting the market. They don't have, okay, at this season, I should be able to, supply this social number. So it's just based on guesswork. Another thing we see is, limited access to credit. You know, farmers just do things, anyhow. They don't have any records. They don't see, in fact, most farmers do their business. They don't do it as a business, rather. They don't do it as a business. So there is no data backing, you know, whatever they are doing. And you cannot get loan, you cannot get access, easily get access to loan. Let me put it that way. Because you should have a track record before, you get access to, such things. So these are challenges, these are limitations we have, currently in agriculture, using our guesswork. So let's go a bit further. We see this is, I call it the data journey. Before a decision is being made, these things has to be carried out. um every centric organization moves through these 4 stages of maturity. They are called data types. Yeah, we have type of data, rather. We have descriptive. Yeah, descriptive is, analysis is looking at what happened. You want to, look into your sales or your basic records. If you want to track your harvest, what do you want to do? That is descriptive. The next one is diagnostic. Just as maybe you go to a clinic, or, yeah, a doctor will diagnose what happened. They want to know the cause. That is diagnostic, yeah. Understanding the causes. Okay, this weather, what what could cause these things? uh Maybe a price fall or a rise in price. You don't just take it and move on. You should look into what happened, what why did this happen. And that is one thing we should note. It's not just about taking data. Yeah, it's not just about having data around you. You should know, what happened, why did this thing happen. You want to understand the cause. Maybe the demand shifted. There's a shift in demand. You want to, why is there a shift? Because the reason why we are still lagging is because we are not taking note of these things, and it's really affecting the output. It's, overall it's affecting the output. And the next stage is predictive. You want to know what will happen after these things. What will happen if I do, let's say you have, what's it called, a disease outbreak on your farm. You have looked into, what disease, what type of disease is this? I mean, what's the name? You look into why did this thing happen? Now, after you have taken some measures, you want to know what will happen. Forecasting yield is part of, when you are doing predictive analysis. What will happen? The forecasting yield can talk of demand and, price trends. What will happen if, just like those people who are into, is it cryptocurrency now? Yeah, there's a trend. There are times that they are in the deep, and there are times that the thing can, go up. Okay, so that is predictive. You would know what will happen next. And the next stage is prescriptive. Just like you visit a clinic, they diagnose, uh why did this thing happen. You said you have a cough. Okay, they will ask you question. You notice doctors, they do ask question. Okay, what did you eat? Okay, is it because of the food? Was it a reaction? They want to know. And after all of those things are done, they had to prescribe, what should we do. So that is, another stage before decision is being made. Recommending best action, what to plant, when to sell. Just like the economic problem, they say we have what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. And all of this is farmers just do, based on guesswork. They don't really look into, oh yes, I should consider the market I want to supply. And a number of times they are at loss. It affects farmers really. They are at loss because you just, use your intuition. You planted. Now you have, it's harvest time. You don't have a ready market. You do have a plan for, distributing what you have. And I believe that's why Kerithub exists anyways. We are still going to, talk about that as we progress. If you are still with me, I'd love to see your reaction. Am I still audible? Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. All right. So the next thing is looking at end-to-end view. End-to-end view, like how did data flow across, the value chain for on the farm, to the aggregation, next to logistics, to market, to consumer. At each, stage, data is captured. Like I mentioned earlier, data is everywhere. Data is captured. What you want to grow, how, it moves. That's, the logistics. Who will buy? What is the what does this thing worth? Those are important, data. And another thing is this connecting these data points end to end is what turns, isolated transaction into a market intelligence system. Not just in isolate, you are bringing them together. Yes, please. You can type in your question in the the chat box. And like I mentioned earlier, this is exactly why Kerithub exists. You know, to build. This is exactly the gap Kerithub is built to close, connecting the data layers across the chains. Um, like we all agreed earlier, data is everywhere, but it's scattered. They are not aggregated. They are, they are scattered abroad. So for us to make informed decisions, you have to bring them together. You have to bring, your data together and analyze to make informed decision. So this is what data look like in practice. It's not just about the numbers. When you sell, maybe this produce, you're a farmer, you take record. Maybe the first harvest, you note what you harvested, what how you sold, one market, your profit margin. You note some things down. You are not just doing it, casually, just moving on. Market come, market will come. We move on, or you distribute it. A number of farmers are even going through a lot. To be sincere, farmers are going through a lot because they are not taking, um, some they are not taking. They have not yet adopted the use of data, though they have the data, but somehow some people are not noting. They don't have a record. So when you ask, they are just doing it based on guesswork. They don't plan ahead. They don't plan ahead. So this is just a simple report or a dashboard. Data is not just to collect those things. It's not just uh to have the numbers. It's not just to have the figures. The essence is that you turn it into action, turn the numbers into actions. There's a way that these persons have. If you look at this the screen, you can see week 1, week 2, week 3, the week 4. See, when you get to week 5, there's a drop. Week 6, week 7, we see week 8. But if this person is not taking notes, if this person is not taking record, if this person yes, does not have a record, there's no how you would pay attention, and you want to carefully look into, we mentioned descriptive, diagnostic, prescriptive. There's no how you will make informed decision if you're not taking notes in the first place. So it is not just about noting the having a record. It's good to, yeah, it's not just about having the data around. It's about having noting them, having a record. No matter what, being a business person, being a farmer, being a retailer, yeah, every one of us have data around us, but you should uh take notes. You should have a record of things, not just doing things haphazardly. Uh, because if things are done, that's why you know farmer a number of them do not plan. They don't plan the next move because they have not carefully looked at the past record and say, oh, this is what I have done, this is how I have moved. They cannot say, oh, this is the amount, the profits I have made, and we want to change this narrative that every one of us, even in whatever you're doing, you have data around you that has been, you should take note of that data, and it doesn't end there, right? You should make sense of it. You should study it. It's going to go through different stages, like I mentioned earlier. why you are having the record in the first place. You want to know why these things is happening. Why do I have why is it that in week 5 from this chart here, in week 5 there's a drop? Why? What happened? We want to see, oh, maybe then we see that in week 6 it went up. Maybe there's a promotion that was on, and we stopped. You just There are a number of things that can cause a fall or a rise. So it's very important. It's not just about the numbers, it's about turning them into action. And we can see, analyzing the data help you can visualize almost every one of us on the call. Excuse me. You can tell, I think this next production analysis, you can see that this A, the last bar here, has the highest. You can, if I had to point the lowest, you can see, like from afar, you can see, J has the lowest. You have the highest. Then looking at the next chart, the crops in demand, this is just an example, right? I can this particular farmer, is growing tomatoes, is into pepper and cabbage, and you see that tomato moves faster. you know the supply for what's it called cabbage is really low. So as an informed person, if this farmer did not take note, he might just keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Remember that you cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. You have to do it different way. You might have to look into, okay, do I produce more, instead of putting the resources in cabbage, can I aggregate and have some what's it called tomatoes, and less of cabbage, just making informed decision, not just based on guesswork, not just based on your intuition. All right. And these are practical use case. If we make use of our data, what is going to change? Yeah. When you know what to plant, based on demand forecast, not just guesswork. You are not just um doing a guesswork. You know what you want to plant rather. You know what business you want to go into, because data cut across. Based on demand, you have gone into the market to make research. Oh, what produce is moving? Can I target this particular? Yeah. So those are the little things that are going to change. Yeah. Time planting and harvest around weather and market windows. We are still, emphasizing on the first point. You can detect soil and crop health issues earlier, through monitoring, your data. And just like I mentioned earlier, in practice, a maize farmer using historical yield and weather data, shift planting by 2 weeks. This farmer wants to avoid, a dry spell and protecting his season's harvest. What is this farmer going to get? He's going to get a higher yield that is reliable, higher yield reliability, and a reduced risk of total crop loss. And if each farmer does this, just imagine if an average farmer, have records, they have, they analyze their record, I mean, their data, they make informed decision like this. On my own farmer, hey, you are able to reduce risk, I mean, crop loss. You're able to reduce loss. And if other farmers too around, all the farmers we have around, if they don't do guesswork and they do based on informed decision, I mean, based on data, they are going to reduce loss, and that will affect the overall, loss that we have. It's going to affect the yield. We are going to have higher yield. It will reduce wastage. Yeah. Another thing, yeah, I just said it. It will reduce wastage, and we have to. It will also lead to smarter logistics. When produce are aggregated, they are pulled at cluster hubs. Based on real-time supply data, not just guesswork. You know, Another one is route optimization. Logistics data identify the fastest, lowest haulage path from buyers to from farm to buyers. You already have your data, so you can optimize. Which one am I? Which route will not affect our produce? Let's say we want to carry tomatoes. You know that, oh, if we take this route, oh, we have a lot of waste. You When you have your data, you can easily optimize. Another thing, waste reduction. When demand match harvest and storage data, you know it costs post harvest losses significantly, and that is one of the issue we are battling, post harvest loss, because our farmers are doing based on guesswork. But if we rely on data, we can match the demand and supply. So by doing so, we reduce post-harvest loss significantly. There's a data say up to 30% of harvested produce in Africa is lost before reaching to market. Just imagine, 30% is lost before they even get to the market. They are still, remember that loss is still going to happen in the market too. Up to 30%. If we can reduce this wastage, say to 5%, that 25% is something. There is what that will contribute to the economy. All right. So another thing is that we have sustainable growth and financial inclusion. When transaction history as a farmer, when you have access, or you yes, to a platform that can they can get your data, your information, and help you put these things down. Yeah. When a farmer sales, payments, delivery history, they are tracked digitally. They are not just done manually. When they are tracked digitally, that record becomes a credit profile, and it's something that most smallholder farmers have never had access to, and that is one of the issues. That is why most farmers do not have access to loans, because the bank cannot trust what you're bringing. You don't have a track record, like I mentioned earlier. So if these things are being recorded digitally, when you have access to these digital tools, yeah, you can have access to loan, to credit facilities, right? Other thing is sustainability through smarter resource use. A data guided decision reduce over farming, excess input use, and environmental strain. So building a value chain that can grow without depleting the land. Those are the what we get when we rely on data, when we use data wisely. So we want to be honest. What are the things, what are the obstacles, what are the things that stand in the way of data adoption? We see that there's limited connectivity in the sense that a number of tools that are being used now, they are offline tools. We want in the advanced country, they're already using IoT, Internet of Things, to take real-time data, not just record and then getting the record manually into the computer. Another thing, we have low digital literacy. A number of our farmers still do not have this knowledge. they are still, yeah, they are limited. And that is why Kerithub is, bringing this. Can we celebrate Kerithub, for organizing such, yeah. So another thing that we have seen is the cost of data, the cost of devices. Yeah. Another thing is, trust. A number of persons, they are not, a number of um, farmers, they do not trust. Yeah, they do not trust. Okay, this new invention, how am I going to go about it? Are they going to, trust in new platforms? That's another obstacle that stand, in adoption of data. All right. So, what are the key takeaways before we uh, wrap up? We highlighted that data is not just a tech, it's not just for tech companies. It is a tool, for every farmer, every agribusiness, every retailer, every business person. Is a tool every business person can use today. Like we mentioned earlier, data is everywhere. Data is not just for tech company. I repeat, it's not a big thing. Data is everywhere. You can send your questions in the chat box. I'll be glad to attend to them. Another thing we are going with is that the goal isn't just to collect data for its own sake. It is to move from descriptive records to predictive and prescriptive decisions. It is to move from descriptive records, predictive, and prescriptive decisions. So we don't just want to collect data for just having it. As a farmer, as a business person, you don't just want to have a record. That is not the goal. Yeah. The goal is for you to know what is happening. Why is this thing happening? What can I do? What are the measures? Then, what will be the outcome if if a measure is put in place? You can forecast with data. So another thing, another takeaways is that the biggest wins are, unglamorous, such as reducing waste. Like I mentioned the other time, if a farmer, you know, stop guesswork and use, demand to, plan his uh, planting, he can reduce waste instead of having much more than the demand. You can reduce it and then plan ahead. Oh, by so maybe in the next 3 months you can start another, harvest. So reducing waste, matching supplies to real demand, and building trust, through transparency. Another thing is connecting data across the entire value chain, not just one stage. So data, like I said, is everywhere and is isolated. So connecting it is what we make, piecing the data together is what we make a real transformation to happen. This is where real transformation happens. All right, and that is the sole reason why Kerithub exists in the first place. Yeah, to simplify the agricultural value chain and create a seamless marketplace that connects farmers, businesses, and consumers across Nigeria, Africa, and the world. So everything we have mentioned today, the forecast, logistics, credit access, is in one mission. You know that after this, after I'm done speaking, someone is going to speak to us more about Kerithub. You're going to know why Kerithub exists. All right. So a data today, becomes a better farm tomorrow. I want to urge every one of us here on this call. You might not be a farmer, you might be a business person, you might be what's it called now? Maybe you're working maybe not as a retailer now, not you are an employee, you can track your expenses. You can track, you know, your that's the data. Your expenses is actually a data. Some person just spend, they do not take note of, their spending. So like I mentioned, data is everywhere. And when you have data today, it makes you make informed decision, a better decision tomorrow. So this is why we draw the curtain today. Thank you so much, everyone. The floor is now open for questions, your thoughts, and discussions. Thank you for having me, Kerithub, once again. Over to you, host, a wonderful host.
Wow. This is amazing, 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 guys. Guys, can we give her a clap? Just a reaction. Can we just clap? Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. It was so insightful. I mean, there are a few things I had to pick up. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, now this is our question and answer session. I don't know if any of us have any questions to ask, something you are confused about relating to agriculture and data, or something she spoke about that you didn't really get, or you need the slides, to just go back home and check it out. Just anything. We are open for questions. Please bring your questions in. Just drop it in the chat box if you don't want to talk about it. And I sent some messages to I sent a message to two people. That is Olajumoke and Oluwaseyi. So please, can you guys drop your information in the chat box? I don't know if you guys are on the call. Okay, I think Olajumoke is out, yeah. So Oluwaseyi, can we get your information? And I noticed you've been on the call. I think the last webinar you were here, the other one you were here. Thank you so much for always joining. I don't know who you came in through with, but thank you so much for always joining. I don't know if you're on the call, but if you are, please just drop your information for us in the chat box, your name, your location, and what you do. What you do. Thank you so much. We will not leave this call without thanking you for always joining. You are always joining. All right. Thank you so much. So, is there no question? Wow, that means we all understand and get what the speaker talked about. Wow, that's good. No question. Should we move on? So I think there's no question. So this session, thank you so much, everyone. So this session will be going to our appreciation and pitching of Kerithub, which our CEO will be doing. His name is Emmanuel Oladile, and he's our Chief Executive Officer for Kerithub. He's going to be talking about if you've been on this call for probably two consecutive times, you could have noticed that he has been the one talking about Kerithub. So I'll hand over the mic to him without further ado, just for him to appreciate everyone and talk about Kerithub, what Kerithub really is. I mean, we've been coming to webinar, but I don't really understand what they say Kerithub is. So he's going to be talking about it. Thank you so much. Over to you, CEO. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Can we just clap for our CEO? All right, over to you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Um, okay, thank you for that. So, good evening. I apologize that I was late for the webinar. I was a bit engaged earlier. And can we please appreciate the team? Can we appreciate the CEO, the Chief Operating Officer, Malika Chisholm George? Um, I can see the CTO also. Um, there's I like to call him Brad Dave. I can see uh, the CPO also. That's our presenter, Tony Butterson, and our Chief Marketing Officer also. Yes, Favor Ayemi. Thank you everyone, and thank you everyone. Oh, and Farmer Sam, please, can we appreciate Farmer Sam? That's our Farmer Relation Officer. All right, and can you please appreciate yourself? You're here. I can see success here. I can see Oluwaseyi Samson. All right. So thank you everyone. I mean, if you are not here, we can't be speaking to ourselves. And thank you, the speaker and the host also. I think one of the things that I got brief time listening. The second point was very, I mean, from the key takeaway that the goal isn't to collect data for its own sake. It's to move from descriptive records to predictive and prescriptive decisions. Wow, that's a very heavy word. And I mean, that's a very thoughtful word also. And I believe that's what we are doing at Kerithub. And just like the vision states, that to simplify the agricultural value chain. So agricultural value chain in Nigeria and Africa is highly fragmented. It means there's a lot of node in there's a lot of node in the across the value chain. I mean, small nodes, smaller nodes joining together, and we want to simplify all that. And there's a lot of middlemen chain, array of middlemen chain, and we want to create a seamless marketplace that where farmers, businesses, and consumers across Nigeria, Africa, and the world can come together. And we are a company that believes so much in data and getting data. This month we launched our pilot test called Genesis, and from Genesis launch we've been able to get a couple of data with very insightful data actually. Because no matter what we want to do, even if the vision is in your mind, you think this is how to go about it, but until the rubber hits the road, until you actually get into the practicality of your endeavor or business, that's when we understand that there are just some other factors and variables that control the outcome of. So this is not what it should be now. This is what it really is. So from that data, we've been able to understand the market behavior, how retailers behave, what's going on currently. For instance, people may not know that there is an existing credit system in the traditional market, whereby the retailers they take food produce consistently on a credit system and they remit. So those are data. Those are like descriptive records, or that we can turn to prescriptive and used to make predictive and prescriptive decisions. And we believe so much in data. We believe so much in logistics, aggregation, moving food directly from the farm to where it is needed based on data. That's based on demand and supply, and just to reduce waste. I mean, um, it's statistically it is known that at least 30% of food waste, especially the vegetables, 30 to 50% of vegetables waste in Nigeria and Africa alone. That's enough to feed, I believe, tens of millions of people. So even if we don't produce more food and we're able to reduce our food waste with data by matching the supply to real demand and building trust through transparency, that's going to help us a lot. So the agriculture is everybody's responsibility. It's Kerithub's responsibility. It's you and I responsibility also. It's our responsibility to educate the farmers. It has a responsibility to connect them with the retailers. It's also our responsibility for we as consumers also to understand about the value chain and how we can transform agriculture together as one. There's something a partner of ours said recently. He said, yeah, he stays in the UK, so he said, when you look at the agricultural landscape in Nigeria, that it's so messy. People should not actually use the word. Sorry, permit me to say it raw as he said. He said people should not be going to messy, dirty markets. Now, why is our market like that? So that over there it's not that way. And I believe we can bring transformation. Kerithub is that place, is a hub. Yes, where our we can transform the way um transactions are done, the way the whole agricultural produce move to the hub, the distribution center, the aggregation center, distributing to retailers, and eventually we also would love to have an hybrid system where consumers also, maybe home to home or house to house, can get secure their produce. The market should not be messy. I mean, there should be transformation. I believe that Africans' problem, like I really believe, should be solved by Africans that live by them every day. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to transform our markets for us. Nobody's coming to help the farmers, and there's no palliative anywhere. We are the ones that will put in the work to solve the problem. So I want to encourage every one of us. If you're a farmer, you're a business owner, you're a retailer or a consumer, you have anything to do with food, you can refer Kerithub to a farmer group, to retailers group in your region, or I mean as a business person, or to stakeholders, policymakers, people that really love and are interested in even investing in transforming Africa's agriculture. We are starting from Nigeria, and we believe that we are sent all around Africa to bring changes to the let me say the infrastructure or the transformation that we really deserve in Africa. So thank you everyone for listening, and we hope to see you in our subsequent webinar. Thank you. I think uh okay, yeah. Let me stop there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, CEO. Can we put our hands together for our CEO? Such a wonderful man. All right, so we have come to the end of June's webinar, right? So can we just have a very short closing prayer? Farmer Sam, can you give us a short? No, Miss Success Hagumbiade, can you give us a short closing prayer, please? Thank you. Just a very big closing prayer. Are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am, still with you.
All
Okay.
right, ma'am. Just
In Jesus' name. Heavenly Father, we thank you
amen.
for this day. Thank you for the successful completion of today's webinar. We ask, Lord, that even as we go about um, executing our visions for PEP Hub, we ask, Lord, that you grant us the grace to do it more effectively. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you, everyone. We hope to see each and every one of you in our next webinar. And follow our social media posts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Kerithub. Just go to TikTok, search Kerithub, go to no, not Instagram, LinkedIn, search. Yeah, thank you so much for that, CEO. Just Kerithub, just search for Kerithub. You will definitely see us there. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Thank you, guys. Bye.